Now the latest ITV News in London.
Tonight, Omicron cases in Camden and Wandsworth. The new variant was also found in Brentford over the weekend. Residents there have been urged to get tested, as health officials say the time to act is now.
There is no time to delay. It's our opportunity to get ahead, and vaccine boosting is the thing we can do most easily.
And as the rules change on mask wearing, we'll tell you what you need to know. Also on the programme, an emotional farewell to the inspirational police sergeant who always wore a smile.
He was like a force of nature. Yeah, there is only Matt Ratana. There's only ever going to be one Matt Ratana. Nobody can replicate him.
A plane, a train, and still no game. Why 2 Dallas Spurs fans are still smiling. And
coming up in a bit, I'm surrounded by birds. This is life-size Monopoly. I've got to find a pattern or I lose all my money. So help me, or I'll see you in a bit.
good evening. It all feels very familiar. COVID concerns and returning to stricter COVID rules. The new variant, Omicron, has been found in Camden and Wandsworth. Both have been linked to travel. In Brentwood today, where the variant was confirmed on the weekend, residents were being urged to get tested. New centres were opened by a KFC, church and school. More mask wearing is back from tomorrow onwards. We'll tell you where in a moment. But first, our political correspondent, Simon Harris, has the latest.
Worshippers at a church, staff and customers at a fast food restaurant, and children and teachers at a primary school. All were being advised today to get COVID tests. Larchwood Primary School is one of 3 places in the Essex town of Brentwood which have been linked to the Omicron variant after a local person was found to be infected.
We're asking all the children at school to have a test, and we're sending tests home with those children today, except for one class who we feel are at particularly high risk. We've asked them both to have tests but also to isolate for 10 days.
Trinity Church, not far from the school, issued a statement saying the infected person hadn't been in the congregation, but someone close to them had. The third site, identified by NHS Test and Trace, is a branch of KFC in Brentwood High Street, where the infected person collected a takeaway. The authorities want to trace everyone who came into contact with the infected person or their family. That includes anyone who was at KFC between 1 o'clock and 5 o'clock on the afternoon of Friday, November the 19th, 10 days ago. At the town's testing centre, some people were concerned, others more relaxed.
I've just been pinged today, that's why I came up here straight away. I've been near someone, but I'm not overly concerned, no.
Not particularly concerned, no. It's a new variant, but it's not sort of, doesn't sound particularly dangerous.
We're concerned because we really want to go away for Christmas. Sarah's got a 13-year-old son. He hangs around with a lot of people that are likely to have gone to the KFC and such like.
He goes to the KFC regular with his friends, and then, as we found out on the telly today, that one of the cases was from 19th of November, so we just thought we'd best get a little check-up.
The Brentwood patient, officials haven't said if it's a man or a woman, is said to be well and recovering at home. A senior government scientist offered this message about the new variant.
Here I want to be clear that this is not all doom and gloom at this stage, and I do not want people to panic at this stage.
Tonight, 3 more cases of the Omicron variant were confirmed in the London borough of Camden, all from the same family. And another case has been identified in Wandsworth. Simon Harris, ITV News.
The new measures to try to stop the spread of the new COVID strain come into force tomorrow morning. Then it'll be a legal requirement to wear masks on public transport, as well as in shops and in shared spaces in schools, but not in classrooms. Helen Keenan has more details.
New COVID rules arrive in London tomorrow. A return to compulsory mask wearing. Already in place on TfL services, they'll be made a legal requirement.
I think it's good, but obviously I'm not wearing one, so I can't contradict myself. But yeah, it's good. It should happen.
I chose to wear it, but it's a personal choice. I think it should be.
Whatever's in place to make people safe again, that's fine with me, yeah. But yeah, no, wasn't aware of it till today.
So, which restrictions are being toughened? Well, across England, masks will become compulsory again on public transport and in shops, not in the hospitality sector though. And all close contacts of positive Omicron cases will need to isolate for 10 days. They're also coming back to school, with the new measures also strongly advising face coverings are worn in secondary schools, not in classrooms, but in communal spaces like corridors.
When the mask came off and the restrictions came down, I myself got COVID and it was a nice experience, and much more my friends did as well.
If I'm being honest, it should have been around for a lot longer than take it away, put it back, take it away. Should have just been here the whole time.
At Richard Challoner School in New Malden, they say teachers will decide whether masks are needed in lessons.
Even though there is some sense that wearing masks in the classroom would be beneficial, I do think it has an impact on the learning experience. So what we said to staff here is, if you think it's right in your classroom for students to wear a mask because of the activity you're doing or because it's not the best ventilated space, then please ask them to wear a mask.
And with confirmation the variant is now in the capital, the Mayor is urging Londoners to err on the side of caution.
We always knew that this virus would evolve, it would mutate, and that's why it's so important to be vigilant. We aren't out of the woods at all. But the good news is, by us wearing masks now rather than waiting for things to get worse, we can hopefully reduce the spread of this virus and have a good Christmas.
With the festive season fast approaching, the measures will be reviewed again in 3 weeks' time. Helen Keenan, ITV News.
Well, joining me now is behavioural scientist Professor Robert West, who also helps advise the government. Professor West, thanks for joining us. The World Health Organization has been quite clear on the fact that we don't know a lot about Omicron at the moment. Equally, we've heard Professor Jonathan Van Tam, the Deputy Chief Medical Officer, say this afternoon that this is our chance to get ahead. Would you agree with him?
Yes, it is. And we have to act. We have to act quickly. And of course, there is a lot we don't know. But the virologists who study these things are deeply concerned because of what we've seen in South Africa and because of the nature of the mutations that they're seeing on the virus. So it would be really foolish to delay any further. And I think what we're seeing here is really probably about the minimum that you could reasonably do to try to, head off this risk. And, mask wearing is one of the things, and it's really important. And the evidence on it, no matter what some people might say, is very strong, that it can make a big difference. But there's also other things as well that the government hasn't said, which I think are important, such as, where possible, encouraging people to work from home to minimise, contacts and so on.
So you've mentioned masks. From tomorrow on public transport and in shops, it will become mandatory again. Anecdotally, people are reporting seeing fewer people wearing masks out and about. Do you think suddenly bringing back this rule will have the desired impact?
Yeah, it will. It will increase mask wearing. Now, what we've seen actually is that the public has generally been, in their heads anyway, very supportive of continuing to wear masks. About 85% or more people saying they strongly support this. But of course, the behaviour has slipped, and that often happens, and sort of norms change. And so what we will see, I think, if the government gets its messaging right, is that the behaviour will come back up to the sort of level that the attitudes are already. So in a way, it's pushing at an open door. But the key thing is to get it done quickly. Also, to remember that it's not a panacea. And there's one other thing I would say about mask wearing, and that is, if you really want to protect yourself as well as other people, then these FFP2 or N95 masks probably do a much better job. And so I certainly will be using those.
Professor West, thank you so much for your thoughts this evening.
My pleasure.
Next tonight, thousands of children in the capital will go hungry this Christmas. That's according to a new report by the Childhood Trust. They say some families will be forced to choose between heating their homes and feeding their children. For Shakira, a mother of 4 from southeast London, the reality of poverty is stark. She says without her local food bank, her children wouldn't be alive. Sam Holder has been to meet her.
Shakira has just £10 a week to feed her children and pay for heating.
Well, sometimes I eat their leftovers, to be honest. I eat their leftovers. Whatever is left behind, I eat. With the children, I have to kind of like pile up clothes on them because I can't afford to do the eating.
Shakira cares for her son with special needs and looks after her baby. They are some of the 34% of London's children living in poverty, according to new research. Single mum Shakira doesn't get any financial support because her immigration status isn't settled. Every single item in her fridge comes from a food bank.
If it wasn't for the food bank, what would that mean for your meals for you and your kids?
I don't want to say it's really, really depressing. My children are not going to be able to survive it. I won't be able to survive it. That's death, isn't it? It's death.
The pandemic has made the effects of poverty in London even more extreme. The Childhood Trust says almost 50% more children are now relying on food banks and charity support. In total, that's nearly 71,000 children affected by food poverty. And nearly all of them, 99%, are predicted to suffer even more this winter. The Trust says one major cause is the cut to universal credit. Inflation and price rises, especially with energy, mean some families who were just about holding on no longer can.
We're encountering children and families all the time now who are telling us that without the support of charities, that they're going to starve. It's that bad. I mean, one could, in some sense, call this a humanitarian crisis.
London is proportionally the worst affected part of the country for children living in food poverty. The majority, according to the Childhood Trust, are in families who are working, but the cost of rent, the cost of living is too high for wages. The government says it's committed to supporting families in need and says it's provided billions of additional welfare support. But food banks are expecting demand like never before. Sam Holder, ITV News.
A father and daughter have been stabbed to death in North London. Police were called to a property on Maze Road in Wood Green yesterday morning. A 61-year-old man and 31-year-old woman were found dead inside the house. A 52-year-old man, believed to be known to the family, has been arrested on suspicion of murder. And detectives have released this e-fit of a man wanted in connection with a number of indecent exposures in North London. Police are linking 3 offences in the Pinner and Hatch End areas of Harrow between August and November. A special memorial service has been held today for Sergeant Matt Ratner, who was shot and killed at the Croydon Custody Centre in September last year. Around 200 officers lined the route leading up to the Royal Military Chapel in Westminster. The Commissioner and the Mayor joined Sergeant Ratner's partner, Sue Bushby, in procession to the chapel. Friends and colleagues then paid tribute to the inspiring police officer who always had a smile. Martin Stew reports.
Braving the cold to remember the bravest of colleagues. The Home Secretary, Mayor of London and Met Commissioner joined Sergeant Matt Ratner's partner, Sue Bushby, as they walked to his memorial service this morning. Guests given a guard of honour by colleagues from the Croydon Custody Centre, where Sergeant Ratner was shot and killed last September. And a greeting outside too from 5 police pups, named the Ratner litter in his honour.
We gather to pause, remember.
Inside, tributes were paid to the man who'd been an officer for 29 years and a rugby lover his whole life.
Matt was a leader, a coach, a mentor, an inspiration. Human, compassionate, decent, kind, fun, generous.
His partner read a moving poem.
I thank you for the love that you have shown, but now it's time I travelled on alone.
It's not how Matt Ratana died that made him a hero, it's how Matt Ratana lived.
And once you'd met Matt, you couldn't forget him.
Colleagues told us what made him so special.
He was like a force of nature. Yeah, there is only Matt Ratana. There's only ever going to be one Matt Ratana. Nobody can replicate him.
It doesn't make a lot of sense that someone like that isn't there anymore.
May I speak these words, ki te ingoa o te mātua, o te tamo, o te wairua tapu.
Matt's Maori heritage was honoured too. Today's service was postponed by COVID. The planned full-force funeral pared back by the pandemic.
Matt would have had 1,000 people at his funeral if we were able to. Matt's, the first police officer in London to be murdered on duty in a very long time, and it's right that we give him the best send-off.
Still to come. Harry Kane's promise to the Spurs fans who travelled from Dallas to Burnley, only for snow to stop yesterday's game. And
coming up on London in a bit, they're trying to dance to the beat really badly.
But first, it is almost December, so about time we got into the festive spirit with a carol or two. This year, Great Ormond Street Hospital have a special charity song which incorporates elements of sign language to make it accessible to anyone with sensory difficulties. Let's have a listen. Sean Moon is part of that project and is also a choreographer on Strictly Come Dancing, currently working with Rose Ayling-Ellis. I'm very pleased to say he joins me now. Sean, what an uplifting video. I mean, this is about creating an inclusive atmosphere for children who are hard of sight and hearing. What have the young people you've been working with on this project said about why this is so important?
Oh, well, it's just so important because these children often don't feel included a lot of the time. So to have a Christmas carol that's inclusive, using sign language, using percussive elements, using Makaton, just really helps to bring everybody together and make everybody feel included, yeah.
And what impact do you hope to have by getting choirs and schools across the UK to learn the carol?
Well, we hope that it brings awareness that we should be more inclusive, that people communicate differently, to bring awareness, to bring the Christmas cheer, to allow everybody to join in. Everybody loves a Christmas carol, so to incorporate sign language into that, dance, movement, kind of percussive elements, as I say, just really brings everybody together and makes everybody feel included, which is so important, especially at Christmas time, but all of the time.
And you'll be doing tutorials for people who want to learn the carol, so tell us where and how people can access those tutorials.
Yes, so those tutorials and the video will be available next week on the Premier Inn website. You'll also be able to donate there as well. So all of the information will be on Premier Inn's website. So get learning the steps, get learning sign language, and get involved.
Now, Sean, you're currently working with Rose Ayling-Ellis on Strictly Come Dancing, who's really breaking boundaries with what she's doing. What have you learned as a choreographer on this series?
Yeah, well, actually, my parents are both profoundly deaf, so sign language is essentially my first language. So it's been really lovely to work with Rose, to use dance, to use sign language. She's been an inspiration for so many deaf people and people in general. yeah, a real inspiration, such a lovely girl, beautiful personality, her energy is infectious, it really is. So it's been really nice to kind of use my dance background and use what I would call my first language, which is something that I don't ever really get the chance to do, yeah.
We've seen some really beautiful moments throughout the series. Rose and her partner incorporating sign language into their dance and stopping the music halfway through another dance. Just how inspirational is this to see, Sean?
Oh, so inspirational. I mean, just for the representation, just for the message that, you know, anything can be achieved. It doesn't matter what's holding you back. Kind of, you know, just go for gold, and yeah, it's just really inspirational to see.
Go for gold. What an important message. Thank you so much, Sean, for joining us this evening.
Thanks.
Next tonight, for football fans, Ken and Brandy Saxton, nowhere is too far to travel for their beloved Tottenham Hotspur. But when the couple set off on Friday for their journey from Dallas in the States to Burnley, they hadn't quite predicted what would happen next. After a 31-hour trip, the game was postponed due to heavy snow, less than an hour before kick-off. So they spent the afternoon with friends and ended the day with a personal invite to another match from Spurs captain Harry Kane. Antoine Allen has the story.
When this couple travelled from the USA to watch Tottenham Hotspur's game, they'd planned for cold weather, but not as bad as this. Due to heavy snow falling across the northwest of England, Tottenham's game away at Burnley was postponed.
I was a bit disappointed, honestly. We had travelled a long way to come.
When Brandy's husband Ken tweeted their bad news, there was one reply he never expected. Tottenham's Harry Kane is no goalkeeper, but he offered to save their 34-hour-long trip with the promise of being his guest at their next match.
My reaction was a lot. My husband was napping, and I literally beat on him to wake him up to tell him that Harry Kane had messaged and wanted us to come. So it was shock. And I'm a big supporter of Harry Kane, so I was very excited.
For 2 years, Ken and Brandy Saxton have been watching their beloved Spurs matches from their local pub in Dallas, Texas. Despite their best-made plans, they were shocked when Spurs' game was postponed 20 minutes before kick-off.
But we were there with friends, so we still got to hang out and see the sights. Even though the snow caused the delay, it was very beautiful, and we don't get a ton of snow like that in Texas.
Ken's tweet about the despair of their trip has been shared over 4,000 times, leading to many football fans offering to take them out once they complete their trip back to London. In the US, you've got the NFL, the NBA, and of course your own football league. So why did you choose to support a club in North London?
When you go to other sports in America, it's more like goods and services. You pay, you go see a ticket. There's no real connection there. With the Premier League, it's different. You definitely feel invested. It's special. So it makes every moment worth it, every mile that you travel worth it.
The Saxtons are thankful for all of the football fans that offered them assistance. Weather permitting, they will be delighted to see them and hopefully Harry Kane on Thursday at Spurs' London derby against Brentford. Antoine Allen, ITV News.
And Sally's here now, so will we see any of that snow here in London?
Oh, that would be nice, wouldn't it? But you know what? Yesterday, we were putting up our Christmas decorations yesterday evening. A little bit early, but we've got a busy week. And suddenly there was this blood-curdling scream at home. And I was like, what on earth is that? And my daughter, who's 9, goes, it's snowing! And she legged it outside. All the cars, which had like tiniest bit of snow on, they'd lost it all within inside about 5 seconds as they built the world's smallest snowman. Anyway, it was quite a sweet little moment. But actually, the coldest weather we're going to get tonight is going to be this evening. There could even be a little bit of ice out there. But then as we go through the night, we're going to get slightly warmer weather heading our way. And actually, it'll be much milder tomorrow, which I'm sure many of you will be thrilled with because it was cold this morning. Let's take a look at the details. Here we go.
Making the most of it, whatever the weather. Octopus Energy sponsors ITV London weekday weather.
Well, Teddington got down to nearly -5 overnight last night and this morning. A really cold picture and a beautiful scene in Richmond as well. But none of that cold weather is enough to put little Hargreaves off having a fun with his mates there. Cute little thing. Now, it's going to stay cold this evening, but overnight and into tomorrow, it's actually going to turn milder. So it'll probably be a little bit milder by the time we wake up tomorrow morning. And then tomorrow, quite a cloudy day and a little bit breezier, so not quite as crisp and autumnal, lovely feeling that we had today. So back to the detail for tonight. There might be a little bit of ice out there this evening, particularly on any damp surfaces, so do be careful. As we head through the night, a lot of cloud cover, though, maybe a few bits and pieces of rain, quite light and patchy. But like I said, by tomorrow morning, those temperatures quite a bit milder than they were this morning. In fact, in some areas by about 10 degrees. So tomorrow you wake up, might be a few areas where there's a little bit of drizzle around, but many areas dry. A lot of cloud, though, with us tomorrow. Throughout the day, the odd spot of rain cropping up. Many areas do stay dry, but it's going to be a little bit breezier than it is today. That said, with all those conditions, those temperatures considerably milder. I wouldn't say warmer. I don't know if we call this particularly warm, but anyway, highs of 10 to 12 degrees, so a good few degrees above today. And as we move into the evening, well, a fairly similar theme, staying the same. We are going to get some rain moving in, but it doesn't look like it'll be moving in until slightly later on in the evening. And then for Wednesday, a bit more unsettled, sunshine and showers, but many areas will get away without any showers and stay dry. We've got a cold night heading our way Wednesday into Thursday, so quite a chilly day again on Thursday, but a decent amount of sunshine, and then it turns a bit more unsettled again as we move into Friday. That is your full forecast for now.
Octopus Energy sponsors ITV London weekday weather.
Now, Sally, we are inching closer to Christmas, but you've been playing board games already.
Oh, my goodness. I've been exhausted by the one I played today. Bit like Marmite, aren't they, board games? Sometimes you love them, sometimes you're not in the mood. But anyway, there's a question, slight diversion, there's a question over our high streets as to what's happening as shops and retail sometimes struggle. Are they going to become more experiential? That is a word, isn't it? Yeah. And one of the places I went to today has taken a very famous game, Monopoly, and made it life-size. Let's take a look.
Aha! Sally, welcome to Monopoly Life-Size.
Mr. Monopoly, you know my name.
I do. Come in.
If this is the Monopoly you're used to, prepare for a bit of a gear change, because on Tottenham Court Road, the entire game has come to life.
Oh, my hair! My hair!
It's what you call immersive. So instead of going past go and getting £200, you have to catch your money. Far harder than it looks.
That's quite tiring. Oh well.
Here, the board game is walked in teams and the properties are mini escape rooms, such as connecting phone lines.
In. Oh, wrong one. Yes, yes.
Or dodging the lasers. Now, I couldn't see them, so my cameraman directed me. Well, he tried.
Yeah, and move it, yeah. Okay, good. And bring up the other leg, the left leg now.
Give me a heart attack! One laser and I failed, my poor heart. This is it. This is real. I'm in Monopoly.
On the board.
Are you loving it?
Yeah, it's great fun.
David, whose background is theatre, is the man behind this.
And I can see Oxford Street there above you. Like, what is happening to our high streets? I mean, this used to be a paper chase, right?
Yes, that's
now
right.
It's an immersive board game.
Well, it feels like, you know, where, unfortunately for retail, a lot of it's gone online. It's been a really hard year or so. Arts and leisure has an opportunity now to come into these landmark sites and repurpose them and bring in new concepts.
You can, of course, end up in jail, which felt somewhat seasonal.
Get me out of here!
Sorry. My game here finished with dance, which actually in itself finished me off.
It's buried. It was pretty bad. Oh, I'm wore out. But at the bar, if you roll a 666, you get a free cocktail. Oh my gosh! I got a 666! I actually have got a 666! I didn't think I'd get one, so I got 2 earlier. Cheers!
It is bonkers, but thankfully a lot shorter than the real game. Sally Williams, ITV News, Tottenham Court Road.
That's all from us for now. I'll be back with the late update after ITV News at 10. Coming up, Romilly Weeks with the ITV Evening News, but from me and the rest of the London team, a very good evening to you.